We're back. Another episode of the GoldenV Podcast. It is Thursday, January the 22nd, 2026 at around 8 p.m. in the evening, Pacific time. And I'm welcoming back a friend of the show, Mr. TJ Lee. Mr. TJ Lee, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
Excited.
no problem. Good to see you. So let's just dive right into this because we were chatting about this off the air. Obviously, this is the second year of the CFLPA's report cards. You and I always text about this kind of stuff, on an ad
Hmm.
hoc basis when we have time, right? But let's dive into this report card because, as I mentioned to you before we started, for me, it's a curiosity. I don't know. I've gotten to know a lot about what you do and what happens behind the scenes, right? Obviously, going to press conferences, sitting in the press box, but this report card is significant. And there's another article I'm going to share with you in a bit that I found from January 8th as well. The significance of this report card. Can you elaborate a little bit more on why you think that is?
I think it's just a perspective, right? All throughout the sports, everyone has their takes and their narratives and perspectives. So, I
Right,
mean, you hear a lot about what the owners have to say, or you hear or you see the direction that owners are going in the
right,
advancement of the sport or the advancement of the quality of the sport.
right,
Um, and this is just another way that the players' voices are heard.
right,
Um, and I'm not sure how everybody feels about that, which
right,
sprouts different negatives. So,
right,
um, but regardless of how people feel about it, the perspectives need to be heard for the overall quality of the game,
right.
and that's hence the CFL report cards.
Right. And so when we go into it, I mean, there's obviously league wide ranked across every team. And I'm looking at some stuff here. Obviously, I just shared in the chat the CFLPA's release on that from the CFLPA's website because they obviously commissioned it. And then there's something here I did actually try to reach Sullivan Elamimian as well. Obviously, collaborating with sports psychologist Dr. Desmond McEwen, who's a PhD at the University of British Columbia, UBC. So I wanted to be able to reach out to Desmond. I didn't have time because I always like to do a lot of research before we start talking about this stuff, right? Because it's
Sure.
important to understand the significance of this report and the grading. And one of the things that you and I talked about with grading is treatment of families, because I didn't really understand what that means, right? I mean,
Mhm.
obviously you have a family, like you and I have shared a lot about your personal life, my personal life, just through texting over the last, year and a bit, right? So we know a lot about each other, but how does that work with treatment of families? Like, what does that entail?
Treatment of families is huge, because a lot of people spend their lives in Canada serving other families. I mean, going there. So, and
Right.
some people decide to make those places that they're playing home,
Right.
or they're creating families in the
Okay.
evolution of their careers.
Right.
So, with that being said, I mean, having a football career, you're gone away from your
Right.
family. So,
Right.
um, that has a bearing on how players perform,
Right.
while they travel. I mean, family has so many different aspects to a player's overall performance. So to know that they're being taken care of, by the organization kind of adds to that, or even home games. Um, Seats, how do you protect the families from fans that
Right.
have big emotions? Fans with a lot of big emotions. How do you protect the family from that? Um,
Yeah,
that has
that's
a
an
bearing on how
interesting
you play.
point. That's an interesting point. I guess maybe I'm different. Like if I saw a player and their family, I think maybe the way I was raised and just out of the respect for the player, like yourself or another guy on the team or a family, I'd probably almost be intimidated to approach them or like, well, not intimidated, but I wouldn't be disrespectful. Let's put it
Mhm,
that way. I sort of err
mhm.
on the side of like always I'd be, extremely courteous. Right. And so,
Yeah,
but I see behavior and I see activity sometimes and I shake my head. Right. So
I mean,
if it's
football is
something
the
you've
ul
experienced.
sorry.
No,
Football
go
is
ahead.
the place of a lot of big personalities,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know? And then you
Yeah. We know
have
all about big personalities, don't we?
the power of influence and alcohol and so much excitement, so many things that make the sport exciting, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
we
Right.
can't control how people react to things.
Okay.
And that being said, our families are not, are wide open,
Mm,
and very in a vulnerable state. And so, I
yeah.
think that has a big impact on how, players perform or the comfort they feel in an organization by how
Right.
organizations treat their family.
Yeah, and so like for for BC Lions, and I mean we can talk about all the teams, but the average in the report was a C, with the
Mm,
highest being Edmonton and Hamilton got a B. The Lions and the Calgary Stampeders got a D plus. Montreal gets an F. So I'd be curious to know what was going on there.
mhm.
And then just looking at some of the stuff, it seems self-explanatory coaching staff. Well, and I think, in the CFL and maybe in other sports too, the coaches have a lot of exposure to the media and fans, right? So you kind of understand, like, I don't always know what you guys do at a practice, but learned a lot more since watching. So football operations, again, management, contract negotiations, tools and resources needed for success. I mean, that's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Ownership and obviously business operations. And I was speaking to someone about that recently, and they expressed surprise that BC ranked their ownership in business operations, since obviously with what Amar has done, and you see the stuff that the fans see
Mhm.
visually, but you don't necessarily know what's going on behind the scenes, right? But Amar Doman gets a C minus. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, how?
I mean, that's not fair, I would say, and I don't think it reflects,
Right.
um, my stance on that particular, subject. But also we have to
Excuse me.
accept the biases and the unbiases.
Yeah, right.
Like, I may be biased from being in the organization all these years and seeing the difference with Amar there.
Well, that's true. I hadn't
Whereas,
thought
like,
of that angle, but that's
when you
something you
get
can
all
elaborate
the
on.
perspective of all the players,
Right.
people that barely may even know who Amar is, that's just catching things for the first time. And that's all this is. This is just an accumulation of everybody on the team's opinion on the issue,
Right.
not the star players, not the players, the tenure players. You have an influx of all the players. Um, so as much as I would like that grade to be higher,
Yeah.
I would definitely give it a B plus, you
Mhm.
know,
Right.
from being there, but I'm not sure how much of that is my personal bias.
Right. Yeah,
So if
because we
we're
should. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm just looking at this. We're chatting
oh,
because it's
go ahead.
important. I mean, it's a 78 question survey distributed to all online players, active practice roster, and then obviously injured reserve. Responses collected anonymously. 381 players shared their experience. I didn't even remember. I could Google search right now how many players total there are in the CFL.
Mhm.
Players provide evaluation based on personal experiences with current teams. I mean, we talked about the categories. I mean, BC gets a C minus in the ownership category. Highest is a B plus in Hamilton. I don't obviously nothing about the Hamilton ownership or
Yeah.
really that much about the team. So you got the lowest as a C minus, the highest is a B plus. Um, but the
I
Lions
I
score well. And sorry, go ahead.
I
Go
I
ahead.
would like to say something. I would like to say something, because you named all the other organizations, and
Right.
if we're judging or comparing it to anything, we would be chasing success, comparing it and chasing success. I feel
Right.
like the players could agree on success. I feel like the owners could agree that we're all trying
Yeah.
to achieve success. So if we start from a commonality, if we're all trying to
Yeah. Right.
achieve success, how
Yeah.
does these grades reflect, success in the organization? Who was the most successful
Yeah.
in all of these categories?
And it's for me, it's always like the way I think, and training, journalism, communications, research methods, right? I'm like, I really want to know the answers, and I really want to know why, and I want to really understand this, not just as a fan, but out of curiosity too, right? Because I didn't see the survey, you saw it, so that's sort of why you're here too, because you
Yeah,
could share the actual survey's perspective plus your experience, and you're just one guy on the team, but
yeah.
um, some are self-explanatory, like facilities and equipment. I was reading about the BC Lions one. I want to share an article from JC Abbott that I found, obviously through Three Down Nation, that went out on the 8th, and the Lions have now made some steps, TJ, obviously around addressing the concerns in the report card relating to the grade that they received. And obviously Lions president Dwayne Vano has, shared some thoughts here where he says, we appreciate the open and honest feedback from our players. Since the introduction, the CFL report cards last year, our organization has put increased emphasis on providing players and staff the best possible working environment. Now, I've been to the practice facility for media conferences, right? I've seen it. I've walked into it, I've looked around, and like I have no judgment of it. I mean, I show up at the facility, right? I'm not there all the time. I'm not working out there. I'm not hanging out there. So I'm only seeing what I see, right? So maybe share a little bit more on that as well, because it sounds like the Lions are trying to address obviously the grading that they received.
I mean, yeah, and that's a good perspective. They're trying to address it, and they've shown a lot of growth from, I guess, the time I've
Right.
been there. With that being said, we're
Yeah.
going off of this year's report of it, of the
Right. Right.
of the locker room. So as much as we can try to cover up the situation of, the grades, I mean, in comparison to other places, if you've been to many teams, and a lot of guys have in this league,
I have.
you see the difference between some facilities and others.
Right.
And I think it has some type of bearing on, you know, the success model,
Right.
and if it doesn't, I mean, I've heard examples, I've heard people talk about, oh, Hussein Bolt, you see where he trained? You see where he trained in Jamaica and how great he's been. But it's all about what type of approach organizations are taking and how you
Yeah.
spin the narrative of the situation.
Right.
Um, but regardless, I think that's an area that needs to be improved, and I appreciate them addressing it. I mean,
Yeah. Right.
sure. So that's a grade. Would we say is accurate or inaccurate, or you
Hmm.
know, uh, how truthful are we being with this, and what are we
Right.
chasing?
Right. And obviously Hamilton, just for people's perspective who can't see it, should actually be able to share it. Give me 1 second here. Where is it?
Let's see. I mean, we all know Edmonton's facility.
Right.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
Edmonton got a nice facility,
Yeah.
whereas Hamilton has a beautiful facility.
Yeah.
Ottawa, beautiful. Saskatchewan, beautiful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Right. Because it's interesting, right? It's just for me, it's always trying to understand the stuff and trying to use it both as a fan, and then it's like I guess there's always I don't know. You see these and you're like, well, what does this really mean?
Mhm.
Right? What does
Yeah.
it really mean? That's why you're here to share your experience, right? Because
Well, what it does is, it awakens the organizations, it
yeah,
awares them, it's not every day the owner has to, experience the locker room, or a lot of people ask for feedback, a lot of people would want feedback, if you want to be
yeah,
better, you want feedback on how you can make things better. If we're chasing a
right,
championship and culture and all those
right,
marquee words, you know, um, and this is just an example of that. And so when they ask the questions, it's
yeah,
just questions that attack all these domains, like the
yeah,
domain of
right,
staff,
right.
the domain of football organization, the operations. And
Mhm.
honestly, go back up. I would
Wait,
the
just gotta scroll in here. Let's go back. Yeah, go ahead.
we will talk about. Let's see. We can talk about some weaknesses and strengths of the report card, and you
Yeah,
know, um, I think the football operations have gotten increasingly better.
right.
I don't think it warrants a seat, but once again, that could be my bias, because I'm a 10-year player. They're very nice to my family, and they're very nice. You know what I mean? They treat me
They
with
should be.
respect,
Come on.
all those things, and so I mean, deservingly so, sure.
Yeah,
But I mean, how would the whole team grade that out as with
yeah, right.
everybody's opinions
Yeah,
and
right.
values, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
And I think that's what these grades are.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, like we're focusing on a lot of things here, right? But I mean, there's got to be positives here too, right? Not just coaching
Yeah,
stuff and different players' experience and your experience. I mean, you've been there since I don't know, like 2015, 2016, right? So it's a completely different ownership group. I believe it's still David Braley. It's still Wally as coach and GM, or at least president and vice president of football operations. You move through some different coaches, some different general managers, right?
yeah, yep,
I
seen it.
mean, like in your time, there's been Wally's probably been the GM, Ed Hervey's
Yep,
been the GM. Rick Campbell and Neil McElroy have been co-GMs, and then now it's Ryan Rigman. So, I mean,
For
it's only
sure.
been a short amount of time, and obviously Buck Pierce has only been there for a year as a coach. So
Mhm.
you've seen a lot, right? And
Yeah.
you've seen some good stuff recently, and some pretty bad years there.
Yeah.
2017, 2018, 2019, when the team wasn't very good. So, but let's move on to a few other things because we're going to talk about a couple other things, right? I mean, let's not just focus
Can
on the
we
report card.
can we end on a strength?
Yeah, yeah, let's do
Alright,
that.
I think that's important. I don't want this to be a bash,
No, and I don't take that
you know
approach with it either.
yeah. So, if we go up just a little bit more, I
Yeah,
think
yeah, sure.
a
Okay.
key strength that, has a lot to do with the performance,
Yeah,
would be the strength and conditioning.
yeah, right. What is that
Strength
about?
and conditioning has taken a lot of steps in how they organize and plan and stay modern with, like, the apps
Mhm.
and, Coach Care is doing very good with the guys um, and it's very modernized, functional workouts. I think that has a
Right,
big um, impact on the player's performance. So
right,
strength and conditioning, I think, took the hugest leap. And I
right,
believe training camp should be up too. And so those are the key
right.
strengths and takeaways from my, bias slash unbiased opinion, whatever. Um,
Well, that's the other thing. And do you think it skews the grades and et cetera, if the team wins a Grey Cup next year?
I would assume that the grades had something to do with it. I assume the grades would be higher
Yeah,
because yeah, they're working on the facility, so the facility should be
yeah,
better.
yeah,
They've always been working on treating families better, and I know firsthand
yeah,
talking to Nate, and
yeah,
that's something that they're attacking there. Um,
yeah,
yes, see,
yeah,
and then I mean Amar just outdoes itself every year.
yeah, yeah.
So that's
Keeps team
another
winning.
good one. The
Yeah,
coaching staff is saying generally the same. Um, Facilities, once the facility looks better, the equipment staff is amazing. So, I mean, they got all the newest equipment, and the newest helmets and all that stuff. So,
yeah,
you know, when there's, I would say when there's two things, when you're saying therapy and medical staff,
yeah,
you're grading it
yeah,
from a two, you know,
yeah. Two
two.
different things.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And I could bring that to the PA's attention as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when you're using like two things, because we should get feedback too. We shouldn't be afraid of feedback either. You
Yeah.
know, if we want to get better, we want everything, the whole spectrum, you know, to be better. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
so
important, right? I mean, you could spend hours looking at this and understanding the methodology of it and the reasons behind it. Um, well, let's flip over to some other fun stuff because now we're going to look at some fun stuff too, right? And we were talking a little bit about this, and obviously, I was trying to find today. I think I found it. Found a couple of things. The actual start of free agency, right? So that's crucial. Start of free
yeah,
agency is crucial, but prior to, obviously, a number of like really, a number of key signings, right? Jonah Tavai, obviously on obviously comes out on New Year's Day.
yep,
Um, second highest tackle total among Lions defensive linemen last season. I don't think I mean, I just like watching Jonah play football. I think he's a beast. And I just watch him on the field. I watch his intensity, I watch his grit. And
yeah,
so lucky to have that guy on defense.
for sure. There's a lot of things I could say about Jonah. High energy guy off the field.
Yeah.
Really grinder on the field. A lot. If you really watch the film and get down into it, you see him get double team on a lot of plays. Which opens up plays for other guys.
Right.
He still find ways to make plays. Um, yeah, he's a force. He's a force. He's very
Right.
smart. Football smart. Comes from a football family.
Hmm.
Uh, I wouldn't be exaggerating if I say he's the smartest D lineman in the league.
Mm.
And so in terms of how he understands what's happening behind him and the whole picture
Yeah.
of the defense and how he's able to show the coaches he understand that too. His
Yeah. And he
work ethic,
signed. Sorry, go ahead. I shouldn't interrupt you.
His work ethic. He spends so much time. He spends all day in the locker room. And after working out and all those things, eats a lot,
Mhm.
has the best food places, really unlock the
Important stuff.
code in
Put him on the
Syria.
report card.
I could go on. Really unlock the code of all the secret gems and hidden gems of food gems in Syria. Um, no, he really has. He really has.
You guys
Eats
gotta put that out on
probably
social media
steps
sometime,
over.
although maybe you don't want to. Maybe you
Yes.
wanna share that, that's supposed to be a secret, right? And obviously, we just keep moving through here, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Sion Tahuma signs a one-year deal, and a big one for you. Your partner in crime a long time. Obviously, I remember you were teaching me about boundary
Mhm.
halfback and, on-field halfback, and your partner in crime, Mr. Gary Peters, obviously inks a big
Absolutely.
extension on January 2nd, with the BC Lions. He is coming back on a one-year extension. And that I think you and I texted about it at the time. That's big,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about, wanting to win, you need that continuity. You need to have some of the same guys return, same culture return. Um, and those guys, Tahima, I mean, he was injured most of last year, but he definitely,
Right.
he's definitely the heart and soul of the D line.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
and the way he makes TFLs and, the way he
Yeah,
gets after it, I'm
yeah,
glad he gets a chance to come and, really show his talents. And, GP, he's excited. He's excited to be back another year, um, ready to lead. I mean, he's getting another year to lead,
mhm,
and I know from experience, like, you get better if your goal is to get better and your
yeah,
intentions to get better and you put in the work, then you will. And so in terms of his leadership, he plans on growing from there. And I mean, he's still one of the top DBs, you know. So
right,
why wouldn't you
right.
lock him?
Yeah, no, I'm just running through a bunch here. Obviously, Gary Peters, offensive lineman Chris Schluger. Obviously, Sean White comes back on a contract extension. That's big. Um, and obviously, Robert Carter Jr. Released to pursue NFL opportunities.
Yeah, that's big. We knew that was gonna happen. I told the kid first time I saw him, big fan of you, bro. You're going to the NFL. So it's always like
Nice.
prepare like you're going to the NFL. I know me and Gary's pumping his head like, bro, you're going to the NFL, and that's one of those things you want to build up these guys. You
Yeah,
want to build up your teammates, and if you see something in him, he may not see it. And that's
yeah,
probably all he needed, is to continue to live his dream. All he needed
right.
was some support, to be like, bro, you got this, you know. And so he went
Definitely.
out and had a stellar year and
Yeah.
and wrote his ticket out. That's what he
Well,
wants.
I just think of that exceptional catch, which is going to be highlight material in the CFL. Maybe not in the CFL, but maybe in pro football or in North American football for a long, long time. The game
Yeah.
against Hamilton at home this season, and he made a catch like that, and like whoa, like that
Yeah.
was
You don't see you don't see those type of catches from DBs, for a simple reason. Like when you're turning around,
yeah,
when you're in your back ball and you turn around, it's like harder to track the ball. So the fact that
yeah,
he was able to, first off, he caught up to it, um, catch up
yeah,
speed. I'm sure that's one of the biggest things NFL scouts are looking for. But then just the playmaking ability in the air
mhm,
and the style of catches and the comfort he has
yeah,
in the air. And I think and how he lands gracefully, because if it was a rough landing, then the ball pops out,
yeah,
so
right. Yeah, no,
but
I
all
wouldn't have thought of that, but you would obviously having experience making
mhm,
similar plays like that, right? That's why you're here too, because I don't always understand that stuff. I mean, the other one that was interesting, obviously Casey Sales, who I know absolutely nothing about,
mhm.
signed as a defensive lineman. What does a guy like Casey do for that defensive line?
Force, he's a force, and I mean, you want that D line to be nasty, you get guys with grit and personality,
Right.
and that's just one of those guys, and he's a little bit older, so he's, you know, at a level in his professionalism that he's you know, got a chip on his shoulder and he's fighting for another year, and a lot of times and if first thing I tell guys, you got to be able to reinvent yourself every year. You can't be that guy from last year.
Right.
And when a team lets you go for whatever reasons, he could have asked to get let go, but for whatever reasons, you go somewhere else, you got something to prove. So that makes that offseason a little bit harder, um, you know, harder and more aggressive, and you're more intentional about it.
Right. And I see that here about him playing in Winnipeg and then obviously helping Winnipeg beat Hamilton in the Grey Cup. So continuing to add players that bring that championship pedigree to this team, obviously with the goal of getting past that roadblock that is the Western Final for you guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, 2 years against Winnipeg, this past year against Saskatchewan. But let's move in, and we got a couple more things for you. Obviously, a guy you and I have talked about in Ben Hladik
Yeah.
returning on a 2-year pact.
It's a good acquisition to the team. Just an overall good athletic guy, great person. One thing about him, great in coverage, great hands, always finds ways to make plays. So I mean, when you talk about how you want to play, and who you want to have on the field
Yeah,
and how to move the ratio even,
yeah,
Ben is on the field, Ben gets takeaways. And that's one of the main things about his career that's stood out to me. Um, yeah, so Ben gets a lot of takeaways. His special teams leadership too as well. So the fact that he could play
right,
both
right,
at a high level,
yeah.
and it's not that him just playing both. He goes into the overall nucleus of the team because he's running special teams meetings. You know, um,
I hadn't
and I'm
thought of that.
saying that,
That's why you're you. That's what's great about you, right? You pick up on the
yeah.
stuff that I don't always see, and that's why it's such a huge bonus to have you here,
Hmm.
because I mean, I followed Ben since he started, but I don't know it sometimes at the same level you do. And obviously, a guy like Isaiah Messam comes back as well.
Isaiah Messon, that's my locker mate. He's
Oh,
always
nice. Okay.
been there. I've watched him grow up, watched him from when he had dreads, when he first came in with dreads, and now he has a bald head. And yeah, so I've seen him grow up, and he had an injury prone last year, but once again, it's one of those guys that grooms your younger guys, and teaches good professional habits in your locker room. You want to have good influences on others, and
Yeah,
he's one of those guys as well.
yeah, yeah. But any other last minute thoughts? Any things you want to throw out before we wrap it up?
Uh, no, I mean, just excited for you to be on here, and to talk football always, man. So
Yeah,
anytime you want me, go ahead and summon me, man. You got all access pass to me, man. I love talking football and love the
yeah. It's
game.
so good to do this. All
Mhm.
right.
For
Thanks.